you for joining us tonight for Cookie Jar Conversations. I'm going to talk about compassion tonight.
Yes.
Why should we live a life of compassion? Maybe by the end of this segment you'll know why you should live a life of compassion. Just a little bit more like Jesus.
Yes.
You know, he had compassion.
He did.
And what'd you find out about compassion today?
Well, I went to John 11, and John 11 tells us the story of Lazarus.
Okay.
And Jesus finds out that Lazarus is sick, and he waits. He doesn't travel to Lazarus' home right away. And by the time he does arrive, Lazarus has passed away, and he'd been dead for 4 days. And both Mary and Martha meet him, and they both, are like, "Oh Lord, if you'd only been here sooner." And I thought, how many times have I thought,
yeah,
the answer didn't come in time, Anyway, but John, the 35th verse, 11:35, tells us that Jesus wept. And so I thought, well, he knew that he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead, so why is it that he wept? And Matthew tells us that when he saw the multitudes, he had compassion. And so I think he wept for the multitude that were lost, and the multitude that were defrauded, and the multitudes that were afraid, the multitudes that were addicted, the multitudes that are the outcasts, the multitudes that are without hope, the multitudes of the hungry, the multitudes of the lonely, the angry, or the depressed, the multitudes who are hurting, abused, or neglected, the multitude who are sick, the multitudes who are grieving, the multitudes who were ruled by corrupt leaders, the multitudes who had religious leaders but they were feckless, more concerned with building their own following than building the kingdom. And as I thought about all of this, I thought, we're scattered. All the sheep were scattered,
yes,
and we're all wanting to be heard, And so we have all these dissenting voices, but we're unable to hear or even discern the voice of the shepherd. And so Jesus had compassion on all of these,
He does, and he is our shepherd. And aren't you glad that just like a shepherd would take a sheep in his arm, the one that's got a little limp or can't go as fast as the others, he carries us, and that's good. I didn't even think of Lazarus, but all through the scriptures you find a lot where Jesus had compassion on others. But I went to, and I've got John marked, but that's not where I was. That's not where I was. I went to Luke chapter 9, and I want to read to y'all if you don't mind being read to. And I wore my reading glasses tonight, so so that I could. Okay. Starts in Luke chapter 10. Now a lawyer stood up and tested him, Jesus, saying, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And he said to him, "What is written in the word, in the law, have you read? How have you read it?" And he answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." And he said, "You have answered correctly. Do this and you will live." But he, desiring to justify himself, said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" And Jesus answered, "A man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and fell among the thieves, and stripped him of his clothing, and wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. By chance a priest came down that way, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite who came to that place looked at him and passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion on him, and went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring in the oil and the wine. And then he set him on his own donkey, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day when he departed, he took out 2 denarii, and gave them to the innkeeper and said to him, "Take care of him, and I will repay you whatever else you spend when I return." Now, which of these do you think was a neighbor to him who fell among the thieves? And he said, "The one who showed mercy on him." And Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." Now, Jesus never answered his question, but he showed him an example. And the priest did not show compassion. He had sympathy on him. I looked up sympathy. Well, pity is, I'm sorry for someone. I feel sorry for them. That's pity. Sympathy is sharing the feeling of sorrow. Your neighbor dies. You have sympathy for them because they're hurt and their heart's hurting. Empathy is understanding those feelings, understanding how they hurt because I've been there. So I'll have empathy with them. But compassion is having these feelings and putting action to it. You know, putting some action behind the words. Connect these feelings to an action. The priest showed sympathy, maybe. He felt sorry. He showed pity, probably. Oh, I feel sorry for him. The Levite, probably the same. He might have took a little time, but he didn't have time to mess with him either, so he just went on. The Samaritan, which really was the enemy to a Jewish man, the Samaritans were the greatest enemy. He's the one that took time to show compassion on this man. And I think we should have compassion a little bit. You know, we should be a little bit more like Jesus. And I ask you, why put compassion in your life? Got this offline. It makes us feel good. It can reduce heart disease. Compassion will improve our mental health. Makes us feel better. Makes us better parents. Makes us wonder about things less. Makes us better friends. Better doctors, believe it or not. Makes us less vindictive. And at work, makes us less to have burnout, you know, if there's compassion in the workplace. In society, it makes a better nation if we're a compassionate nation. It gives us less loneliness, and loneliness leads to heart disease and stress. So we'd have less heart disease and less stress if we were compassionate. Compassionate just makes us a better person. So, and that's our goal, is to be more like Jesus. So let's have a little bit more compassion. Thank you guys for joining us. We love you.